We started out just like learning about the Lenape and Dutch. Well, how can you make this so that it actually feels like you're experiencing? We can turn our classroom into that. For the next few days, we were adding on to the setup and kept adding on to it until it actually looked like the Lenape Village.
And the building is pretty much inside the drama.
Well, when you just started learning at first, it was interesting to see how. And then when you got to see like how the tools incorporated into what you learned, it was interesting because it's really different than what we do now.
When we were making stuff, it kind of felt like we were the people and we were making stuff, like in the places.
One of the things that we did was we made our Lenape Longhouse, which helped us kind of understand how they built it. It's kind of, it's a benefit for learning, and it's more fun for us. We wanted to get to that point when we knew a lot about that subject, about the Lenape, the Dutch, the Africans. We wanted to get to that nice point. We got to kind of experience being the people who did this, and that would help us learn.
It was like you got to put yourself in a space as if you actually were them and learn how they felt. Also creating it, we experienced they had to make their own longhouses the same way we did. It felt like we were actually them, and we were trying to solve all the problems.
Well, usually we always had a partner to usually just design stuff. So, because I really like the partner because if I'm really stuck on an idea, someone else can help me.
When we had to build things, we kind of did it all as a community, so we got to build off each other. So a big part of the year was yes and, not I have a better idea. It was more yes and there's another good idea. It helped because you got other people to help you work with their own ideas, not saying, no, my idea is better and your idea is better.
I just needed to make sure my partner knew what I was thinking. I had the idea in my head before, but I think my partner had a different idea in his head. So basically, we did my idea and his idea together.
Either have an idea, then if your partner has an idea, you can add that idea, and keep on adding ideas. You get so many ideas, and you start thinking in a whole different way that you never really thought of before.
Usually designing all this stuff, it was pretty hard until we figured out a really good idea and it worked, and I was like, yes. And I just felt after we finished, I feel like it's wow, that was really easy, wow, that actually I wasn't expecting that to happen.
There was so much that we had to do to build. We also actually felt like we were building a longhouse because we used most of the materials that the Lenape used.
When we built our longhouse, which it was kind of hard to I was in the bark group and we had to do it 5 times because hanging it up, it broke every time. It was frustrating because your work just went down, but after you finally completed it, you felt better and good.
The process was a pretty bumpy process. So one of our main things was to not say no and never give up. It took us 11 tries, but then we finally found the right materials, so then it went pretty smoothly.
Sometimes the materials would be kind of hard to work with, but we thought if we kept on going, we would make enough.
I thought it was really fun actually, being able to have a whole table full of materials and you could figure out how you wanted to make it and figure out the steps that you would need to do it. I thought it could be a little challenging at some points just because there was no sheet guiding you what to use and what steps. And I had to figure out what materials would be better and what would be stable, but I think it was fun because then you could actually have the freedom to make what you wanted to do in a way that you could choose your materials and choose the way that you wanted to make it. First, when something went wrong, I had to realize what I had to take out of it. You have to realize what materials will do it most efficiently. Sometimes it works out, and then I'm like, yay, this is all working, and then the next time it doesn't work, and then you have to change what you did in the order to design it. So I got kind of upset, but I knew that I wasn't going to get through the project without having to like make
You
mistakes.
take materials and then you're like, oh, well, what should I do with this? And it's like, boom, you just like make a huge thing. Like we made the city of the future. It's like one small thing can make a huge big thing. I had to do a lot of tries on stuff. I don't want to go buy a briefcase. I wanted to make it out of cardboard, tape it. So I think I wanted to use materials that were not really used, so I can keep on trying. It can be hard because when something's hard, it means you're working hard.
I like using, like, if there's a table with a bunch of materials, I'll probably, like, take them all and figure out a way to use them. Because I just like putting things together. It's always kind of cool to see, like, all the materials I took in one thing. A lot of the times when I'm trying to build something, I think about what I'm going to build, and then I have a lot of problems while I'm trying to build it, so a lot of the times I start over. Well, since I like building things, if I start something, I want to finish it, and even if I do start over, I still want to keep that idea.
And also just making it, you always try to like push yourself to your limits. Like kind of being nervous was the thing that made it fun. First, it was just kind of to like come up with the design, and then to just kind of like think about what I'm doing and how I'm gonna do this. I had to like think a lot about what I was gonna use. Usually, I kind of messed up on things, but I did at some points just do it first try. I felt like I was kind of finished with that, and then I just moved on. But at others, I was just like, I knew I could do better.
It was pretty hard to start from scratch. I mean, we had all the materials in our classroom, but we just had to do something with them that was realistic. We didn't give up, but we also took a step back and see what we could do, and then do that other step. We said, like, let's go back to this with, like, after we do this with, like, fresh minds.
I thought it was really fun because the only limit basically was your imagination, and you could almost create anything. And we came to like a lot of obstacles in the project. We learned a lot from our mistakes, which helped us go through and not make those same mistakes again.
It was kind of like cool because first we were kind of just like thinking about it, and then we actually started to build it. Well, like you'd have an idea and then you notice it wouldn't really work. And then for us, we'd kind of have to like go on to the next idea.
Well, at first, it felt like it was never going to end, like literally never going to end, and we were so frustrated and upset. But then one idea came, and then like another idea came, and another, and that kind of like soothed our frustration, and like it got easier for us to think of the ideas, and it kind of like went better.
If we ran into a problem, then maybe what we would do is we would think of like a list of solutions, maybe something everybody would try and think of what maybe we could do to solve the problem. Then we could figure out what we could do with the materials and stuff that we have.
It's not like you're stuck doing some really stressful work. You're having fun, you have a goal, and you want to reach the goal. You didn't fail, you had just misunderstood. You would see what you did wrong and try and redo it or fix it or add more.
And the real thing was very, 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 very tall. It was like that tall, and ours was this tall because we didn't want people like kindergarten years like just going under it and saying, well, I can't see anything.
And it was strange because at the museum, I thought that the kindergartners would have a lot of questions, but they had none, and from just looking at it, they knew what it was.
I was just thinking, like, what are they gonna do? And, like, are they going to be interested in this? I was just trying to, like, figure out something that would maybe entertain them, but also, like, give them the facts that they wanted.
Well, it
For me, it feels more realistic, and just like giving me an article of something, it's not also fun, so it's harder to learn. I was really happy to do it because I was really like into it and excited because I felt like I learned more. After just finishing the museum, I felt like I was just better at working together, better at painting, better at making stuff, better at being more creative.
It also taught us a bunch of skills that I don't think we would have learned otherwise. Thinking about it was just making a picture in your mind and sometimes like playing with your hands and like thinking about how that would feel. But then actually getting to do it felt totally different because for one thing you were actually holding something, putting it together, and then putting it on a larger project. It was all coming together. It felt so much different because you weren't just imagining what it felt like you were actually doing. You were actually feeling it.
It helped me to better understand the past and not just build off of what our teachers were telling us, more off of what really happened. And the time travel helped too because that helped you get in the mindset of the time that you were in.
Sometimes the Dutch life could be easier than the Lenape life, but then I started like working on them, and I was like, they're both equally hard because they have such different techniques of doing things that when I have to like build that stuff, it can get like really hard, like lashing it, the longhouse, and like placing the bricks in order and all that. It's a very different experience doing it through like building versus like reading or filling out a worksheet.
I think that when you make something, you can really like see it instead of seeing it like on a book. You can actually like, it's like 3D. You're learning, but like when you're learning, you're having fun on the same time. I think if they asked us to make nothing for everything we've done, I think we'd have a very boring time. Since we have things in our classroom, it makes it more synergy, that is energy and syncing. And that makes it much easier for us to work because I think if we were working in like a dull classroom and we had nothing to use or nothing to make, I don't think it'd be any fun. But I think, I'm not sure, reading a book about the Lenape and memorizing it would work because you were never really in the time because since we were time traveling, that brought us back into the time, so we learned much more than I think just reading a book.
In ways, because it kind of delays you, but also at the same time it teaches you what you can do next time to like fix it. When I look back at it now, it just doesn't really feel like a miserable failure. It just is like a teaching moment that I can use for things in the future when I'm making other things. It just kind of helps me with my old mistakes turn into new, kind of almost new projects that can just help me with what I'm doing.
Seeing a model of something gives you a better picture sometimes. So you already have that picture in your head from what you heard or maybe what you saw in a book. And then you can try and build a model of that.
We would have to like really think hard about that problem and see like, can we add on to this problem? Having to build it actually made me think a little bit more about the idea. So we kept on thinking and thinking, how could this be better? We kind of tweaked it up a lot, so that helped with like the building more than just taking a piece of paper and going like, and you could just kind of like be free and kind of just like there.
It helped us learn more about their culture because when we actually built it, we realized what they were trying to get at and what they were trying to prove and help out and trying to help people. Because after we had it and we could see it, it was easier to find out how it helped because we could look all around it. And it would help us know more about what the Lenape and the Dutch were trying to help their people, because when we saw it in the picture, we would be like, oh, what's that? We want to see it closer up. And so we got a chance to do that.
I think building a model is more helpful than just explaining it because sometimes when you explain it, it's hard to explain without showing it. Like, you know how sometimes it's hard to explain like a really complicated card game without having the cards?
Because it really put it into your mind, and also you kind of got to discover it yourself. You're actually there to discover. Like when we were studying archaeologists, we pretended that we actually did discover the artifacts. When you find something that some people don't know about or something like that, you never forget like where it is. But when someone tells you something, you kind of forget. So thinking that you've discovered this idea kind of puts it there into your mind.
Right, it was helping understand how to do everything, how to do what we need. Like going into the Study of the Future project, it was your own ideas. Like no one could really help you. You had to think of your own ideas. And the big part of it was no no's, only yes ands.
We used what we knew from the past to help us with a creation that we were gonna think for the future. It was like really, really fun, but it was also like really educational. We didn't get like stuck like a ton because mostly we were just making ideas and making them better. We were kind of like learning from our mistakes.
I felt good. I felt pretty good after that because then I knew I could do it, and I could feel really good about myself doing this.
And it's always like, at the ending, I'm always feeling good about myself, and my partners are like my whole class of finishing it. Everybody put in as much as hard work as I did.